Good morning. Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Hello, I can hear you.
Alright, I can hear you. It's working. That easy.
Ooh. I am by no means a Discord expert, so glad I'm in the right place.
Yeah. You're doing everything perfectly so far, and now we just talk. That's the platform. If you wanted to share a webcam, we could work it out, but it is not necessary. I wouldn't worry about it unless it's very important to you to show something off or something like that.
No, audio is good for me.
All right. So, this is George Spender. George is the publisher of the book I wrote over the last 2 or 3 years and published this year, called Before We Go Live. And I invited George on the channel today to talk about, mostly just to talk about good things that have happened last year and things to look forward to next year, but also to chat about the publishing industry and what it's like to publish a book and your experience working with writers and playwrights and all of that stuff, because I do have a decent chunk of my audience who are interested in writing.
Thanks for having me here.
Of course.
Nice to be involved. Nice to be asked. I am talking to you from the south of England, Exmouth. I am visiting my girlfriend's mother here.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
The holiday season is full of exciting social engagements. Or
Still going, yeah, still going.
Yeah. Or in my case, I've been sitting at my chair in front of my desk for the last week. It's been really cool running this event, though. It's incredible how many people will take a moment to chat with you if you reach out to them. A good reminder for us all, perhaps.
Were you doing all day yesterday?
All day yesterday, all day every day since Monday. Yeah.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah. We are raising money for Free to Love, which is an awesome charity that funds art programs for kids. We have raised coming up on $10,000, which was the goal that I set out for initially, but the plan is when we hit the goal, I just make the number bigger. You can never actually hit the goal. It's all a sham. So that's what we're up to. I wanted... How many things can I ask you about working with me? I don't... Given that I'm me, you'd be telling me. I was curious what your experience of publishing my book was, I guess, because I think my book's a bit different from a lot of the stuff that you were used to publishing. You're an independent publisher. You're more used to publishing stuff like plays.
Well, yeah, I mean, a little bit of my background and way we were connected was through a playwright, theatre maker, now game designer, Hannah Nicklin, right? For about 9 years, I worked for a theatre publisher in London called Oberon Books, which is now part of Bloomsbury. And I met Hannah at one Edinburgh festival one year, performing a show about her. It was something to do with her father and protest. I think her father is a policeman. Anyway, I kept vaguely in touch, and I can't remember why we were talking, but we were over email, and she mentioned you. And you and I think, had a... can't remember if I read the book first or you and I had a chat about it. And I was, I guess, initially just trying to point you in the right direction of how to get it published, but maybe quite soon into the chat it became clear that it would be something I would be interested in doing. By this point I had founded a very small independent publisher of my own that was mostly doing theatre, but not stuck on any one particular genre or niche, so I was keen to branch out as well. And as far as I know, this is the first memoir by a a Twitch streamer. Do you know otherwise?
I know of books written by other Twitch streamers. I don't think I know of a like true memoir. They're more like how to be a better gamer or that sort of thing. Yeah, I think the puzzle with streamers and writing books is we all already spend so much of our time sharing about our lives online, so not many of us think it makes much sense to go write a book as well. You just talk on our channel, you know?
Well, I don't know how you had the hours to do both. I mean,
Neither do I.
the editing process was pretty, I'd say pretty straightforward. You may
Oop, we are having a Wi-Fi issue where you're cutting out. Oh.
how about now?
Yep, you are loud and clear now. You were saying that the editing process was something, and then I lost you.
I think it was pretty straightforward. I certainly found it a very pleasant experience. Hopefully you did as well.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It was longer than I expected, but I do feel like all of the time spent was worthwhile. There were bits like reaching out to lawyers, which I hadn't quite realized we would need to do, but then once we were doing them, I thought, oh yeah, this is probably pretty important, actually, given the subject nature of the book.
And we seem to have avoided any lawsuits.
Yep. Nobody has delivered me anything saying that I need to report to the local courts, so that's nice.
It was nice. I mean, you just never know. I mean, I was pretty ready for whatever would happen. I think we were careful with changing names, and I don't think we really had to remove very much. Obviously, we can't go into too much detail there, but I was kind of expecting a letter of some kind, so it's nice to know that we've swerved that.
You know, Soft Giving, who we talk about in the book in the charity chapter, relevant to today's stream, changed their name to something else and have actually recently sued 4 creators for defamation in the industry. So, but I was not named. Maybe I flew under the radar, maybe I don't know. Maybe they just thought, gee, the things that he said are true and he has evidence of them. So this wouldn't be a great lawsuit. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, you were also very good in putting up with the fact that my first company that I was going to initially publish through Salamander Street kind of imploded shortly before you were scheduled to be published originally, due to a bit of unpleasantness between me and my 2 business partners, which you were very kind to put up with my explanations for.
My observation of the book publishing industry as an outsider who has published 1 book is a lot of stuff goes on. Just all sorts of things happen. And I just kind of, at some point I decided I'm just signing up for the experience. I'm just going to see what happens. Hopefully by the end of it I'll have a published book I can show people. And we got there, so I'm quite happy.
And yeah, we got to meet in person. We have met in person exactly once. I am gonna hopefully be, well, I am gonna be in Los Angeles again in January.
Ooh, so, are you there from January 5th to 7th?
Sadly not. I fly out on the 15th. So maybe
I'm gonna be there the 5th to the 7th. That's too bad.
Shame. Yeah, looking forward to seeing some sunshine.
Yes, that is the purpose for my trip, almost exclusively in my case. I imagine you're there for some business sorts of things as well.
Yeah, business this time. Well, it was business last time, but I'm going with Mary again to NAMM show. That's the National Association of Music Merchants.
Mm-hmm.
Do a bit of filming.
So-
For those listening, I have been working the last couple of years with my sister Mary, who is a musician and YouTuber, content creator. So I have got to experience the side of the industry that you've been writing about, Stephen.
Uh-huh. Did the book help prepare you in any way?
I think so. I mean, I definitely think I have so much of my kind of day-to-day working life has changed over the past year or so. And I guess I experienced a different kind of burnout, the kind of change to my, like, the change of my day-to-day going from very structured and having a lot of tasks to accomplish or nothing gets done to kind of, staring at a wall and wondering what I'm doing day in, day out. That's been a bit of a change, but I'm definitely sort of come to terms with that now. I'm still doing books on the side as well, but yeah, content is now the main day-to-day.
So Mary has been a very successful content creator, I would say, for quite a long time, since before we met. So when you were reading my book for the first time and looking at the subject material, did that immediately make you... Was that one of the reasons that you wanted to publish the book? That it could speak to the life of someone you knew so, like, personally in your family? This is Mary Spender on YouTube. And I found Mary's YouTube channel before I knew that the two of you were related, because she was recommended to me by YouTube. Like, I am stunned over and over again this week about how small the world is. There are so many people who I have met who I could have met 3 other ways, or who all know each other for some weird reason. But yeah, like...
Yeah, the algorithm did its job, didn't it? Delivering her to you.
Yeah, I guess so. I enjoyed her cover of one Miley Cyrus song, I think. I can't remember it all.
Well, I guess I was just very interested in the subject matter because it is so new and so few people have actually put pen to paper and I think maybe thought as deeply or, recounted their experiences in the way that you have. So it felt fresh and unusual, and it's obviously just a very well-written book with an interesting tale. And oh yeah,
I suppose you chose to publish it.
And a few thousand other people seem to think so, judging by the numbers so far.
I have very much disengaged from the numbers. I checked the reviews when they were first coming in. I was quite interested to see what people were saying about it. And there were, 6 people. On Goodreads, it says like a certain number of people are interested in this book and want to read it. And there were maybe 6 who were on there saying that they wanted to read it and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. A few more people are going to like it. And I looked for the first time in maybe 6 months earlier this week, and there are now 66 people who want to read it, and like 22 who are currently reading it. And wow, that's so many people.
Yeah.
So yeah, some people like it. Huh. Not bad.
Well, the average, I think I told you this figure, the average book numbers, like for every however many hundreds of thousands of books are published a year, the average number of sales is 500. So you have wildly exceeded that.
Well done.
So you can count yourself as a successful author.
All right. Something that I found interesting with writing a book about streaming, I was actually thinking about this yesterday as well, is I think that the book, at least copies of the book, are going to outlive the availability of a lot of the citations that I'm making in the book. When I was writing the book, you could go to my channel and see the video that I was talking about. Or you could look up who Soft Giving was on the internet and find their webpage or whatever. And now, well, now that stuff's still mostly around, but Soft Giving has changed its name. So you're going to have to like go through a little obstacle course to work out where they are in the world now. And 10 years from now, 20 years from now, if somebody picks up the book to read it, would they be able to find my YouTube channel at all? I don't know. And it's given me a really interesting perspective on the permanence of the stories that we tell and that I tell at my job in particular. I'm happy that I wrote a book. It's been rewarding in ways that making content has never... Making content is very rewarding, but writing a book has been rewarding in very different ways, which I've never gotten out of content. Like there's a feeling of permanence, for example. There's a feeling of, I said this thing, and I want to stand by it, and people keep reading it and coming and talking to me about it 9 months later, and may continue to do so for a long time.
Gosh, well, I mean, think about how many books you've read over the course of your life that you will have picked up a copy years after it was first published, and it can still affect you very deeply. But I guess as an author, you don't really get to know full extent of the reach. I mean, we can see here exactly how many people are watching now, but we will probably have no idea how many people bought it and finished it, or picked up a second-hand copy somewhere, or we're lent a copy by a friend, and that is both quite magical and quite frustrating as a publisher, because it is the name of the game. But I think you can be very proud of what you've put down on paper, and I think it will be a valuable resource for many years to come.
Is there... I was talking to somebody the other day about the New York Times bestseller list, and I remembered the number 10,000 sales for the New York Times bestseller list. And it's such a prestigious thing. You see on the cover of a second edition of a book, New York Times bestseller, and you think, oh, that really means something. But then it's really hard to tell what it means, it turns out. The actual which sales we're counting. And like you say, is the sale of a book the thing that measures how far it spreads and how relevant it is? It's one thing that can be measured, but for example, I imagine that coloring books sell at a higher proportion related to their impact than novels, because a novel, you'll read it and then you'll give it to somebody else to read, and a coloring book, you color it and then it's done.
Yeah, I mean, I have longed for a New York Times bestseller book on my CV for a long time. Maybe one day. I mean, having been in the kind of independent publishing sector for most of my career, I haven't had the thrill of seeing, hundreds of thousands of copies go out the door, but I think it really doesn't matter so much as long as I mean the response to the book has been so wonderful. Some of the best kind of reader engagement of my career, I'd say. So that's good enough for me.
Cool. Is there anything that I should be doing to sell the book to my audience? What do you think? Let's discuss market strategy while everyone's here. It's very transparent. How
can we monetize this charity stream? Yeah. Well, I think word of mouth is number one way we can help the book. I think everyone so far seems to have been very good about taking the time to leave an online review. Places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Goodreads. I think for those who haven't had the pleasure of getting their hands on a physical copy, the ebook is available wherever you buy your ebooks, and the audiobook is available as well. Did you have Ray on yesterday?
Yeah, Ray was on last night. So I was hanging out with Ray, and then I went and had dinner and went to sleep. Slept terribly, by the way, but that's okay. And now I am here talking with you. So in terms of the stream, Ray was here just a second ago.
Well, that's so cool because he did such a wonderful job and just added, I think, a lot of. I think you say a lot of like emotion, or his skill in delivery is just makes it so much more than what you or I maybe would be capable of reading into a microphone.
Yep. As somebody who reads into a microphone all day, every day, I was still never trained as a voice actor. And yeah, what Ray is able to do in conveying the story that I wrote and you published is very, very impressive to me. He did an awesome job. I have had friends of mine who know me very personally. Actually, this is something Hannah did. As an example, Hannah is my manager whose story features extremely prominently in the book. I had Hannah tell me that she thought that the way Ray read some lines in The Storm, which is kind of the deepest, darkest chapter of the book, should be like the canonical version of that line. Like, she just thought that the emotion, the way that he captured it, was the right way, which is a really impressive thing for her to say because she was there and Ray wasn't. So how did Ray do that? I don't know. The man is magical.
Well, the audiobook, for those who have a Spotify premium account, I think you can now get it effectively for free in a number of countries, including UK. I'm pretty sure North America is now up and running, and Canada. I couldn't find anywhere a full list of where it is available, but I guess if you have Spotify, try your luck and we shall see. I mean, I am not too hot on the ins and outs of how they compensate the publisher or the author for this type of
so we don't even know if we're getting paid for that.
They give you, I think they give you like a few cents per like percentage of the book that's been listened to. So
okay,
who knows? I mean, some money will arrive at some point.
That's kind of how I've been approaching the publication of the book as well. That's interesting because, yeah, as a content creator, you hear all about people struggling to actually get a paycheck from things like Spotify plays, like musicians, for example. As a
Sure.
content creator on Twitch and YouTube, I feel like I am paid slightly less than I should be for the amount of revenue generated by what I do. Like, I feel like the companies overseeing what I'm doing are taking an outsized cut, and that's why Jeff Bezos, who is my boss, or whatever, or was once upon a time, is able to have 2 giant spheres with every plant from the Amazon rainforest in them in downtown Seattle, and I am not able to do that. I don't think it's actually every plant, but it's kind of ludicrous. Did you know? So, these are the Amazon spheres, which were Jeff Bezos' project, and they're in downtown Seattle, and they're these big spherical glass environments in which there are lots and lots of different plants from the Amazon rainforest, and there's been ludicrous stuff like him flying a tree in a helicopter through downtown Seattle to put in his spheres and stuff, which is extremely like hubristic and kind of funny because, like, well, who do you have to protect the rainforest from? Jeff, who's the who's the criminal here? But anyway, I was walking past them like a couple weeks ago, and they have a stand there where they give out free bananas, and I thought it was just the funniest thing in the entire world. Like,
Just looking at a picture of them now. I haven't been to Seattle in a long time. I think I went in 2005 or 2006, so pretty before. Like, I do remember Facebook being a thing, but I assume Amazon was a thing as well, but just barely. I don't know how much the city has changed in that time.
yeah, it's gentrified a little bit. How did I get on this? Oh yes, I am not paid as well as Jeff is, which, like, yeah, sure. I mean, everyone gets that. So I do definitely think that there are other types of creators who are paid significantly worse. I don't know what I think about authors. I have no real idea. I don't get the sense that writers are compensated in a very flat manner. Like, I feel like the best writers in the world are earning far more than other writers who are working just as hard but aren't as well known for whatever reason.
Absolutely. I mean, if you, however many hours you spent on the book, you are far from earning minimum wage on it.
Mm-hmm. And this was a successful book. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the economics of the industry have changed an awful lot with Amazon, and to bore your listeners with statistics, back in the day, a kind of trade discount, like a publisher getting a book into a bookshop would take about a 30% discount, and the publisher then would keep the rest, and the author would get 10% of that. Nowadays, with these online giants, it's more like 55-60% off the price of the book, so everyone's pot is that much smaller, and that's why I was so thankful to those who bought the book direct, because it just does make such a difference to you and me in terms of making it a bit more affordable and not giving Big Jeff any more money.
I wanted to.
And for those, sometimes Amazon we're all guilty of using it, but I guess you won't know what the full effect is until it's too late. So if you can support your local bookshop, support your local publishers, that's money well spent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 50% off the top for providing a web page where someone clicks the button to buy it is kind of insane. Do you have any thoughts on how someone who is interested in publishing a book could publish a book in today's world? Because even as someone who just did it successfully, the reason that we got to talking to begin with was that I had been looking for someone to publish my book, and I thought it was just like a very obvious, this will be a successful book sort of situation. Maybe there was legal stuff that put some people off. I don't know. That seems possible. But like if you look at the size of my audience to begin with, and you look at the context that the book's being published in, it seemed obvious to me that this was a book that people could publish profitably. And so I was reaching out to agencies and I was reaching out to publishers saying, hey, I have this book, I'm looking to publish it. And 70% of the time I wouldn't get an email back. 25% of the time I got an email back and it was like, we do think your book is really interesting. Nobody here can do anything with it though. And the remaining 5% was people saying, oh yeah, I would be interested in helping you with that. And then me trying to continue talking with them and them taking like a month to respond, and then eventually like apologizing because they had 30 other clients at the same time or something like that. The book business, for all we can say about it maybe not being incredibly well paying or whatever, it does seem to be thriving with people who want to tell stories, which is encouraging, I guess, but also means that even if you have some great book that you want to publish, it can be hard to get the attention of anyone out there. So, what would be your recommendation for anyone trying to publish?
I wish I had a fantastic answer. I mean, I am a big believer in kind of taking things into your own hands. I mean, self-publishing is now pretty easy for most people to get their head around. As you say, the traditional process is just so slow, and if you even get a response, it then pick up a literary agent who then sells it to a publisher. It will probably be a year or more before it's available in shops. So if you've written something very, very of the moment, there's really nothing like, self-publishing and trying to market it yourself. But I mean, it's the same as releasing an independent artist releasing their music on Spotify. It can be easy to get it out there and harder to get people to pay attention. And you have worked very hard at building a direct connection to your audience that meant we could get word out, because trying to get any kind of media for a book these days, especially from a small publisher, is also incredibly difficult, because review space is so in demand. Maybe 6 review slots a day, a week, a month, with whatever publication you're submitting to. And Britney Spears has a memoir out, so that's
have you read
one
it?
of the. I haven't. I mean, I read the kind of juicy highlights of it.
Okay.
I'm going to sit down with a copy at some point. But the big beasts take up pretty much all the air in terms of review slots. So it feels like the industry is going to experience a kind of sea change in a way I can't quite predict yet, and I would be very interested to, hear more from publishing experts. I guess I don't know. I think most publishers will just want to see you have a built-in audience that will basically do their work for them. And I find it amazing that even you with your built-in audience still couldn't get, you know, whoever at Penguin Random House or whichever other big beast you want to name to take it on. I mean, they should snap something like this up. So everything is very safe and everything is kind of non-risk, and I don't know. I wish I had a more kind of positive outlook on the industry at the moment. It's so slow to modernize. Yeah, traditional route would be start with a literary agent, like start with the books you like to read, authors you admire, find out who their agent is, which is sometimes easy, sometimes not. You would send a kind of proposal to the agent, you know, a 3-chapter sample and a full synopsis and all that kind of thing. And yeah, hope that they answer their email within a year of you sending it.
I think
just don't leave it too late in life to write a book, because it will take years to get it out.
My process, I definitely did that. I looked at... So I was fortunate to work with an editor who was familiar with the publishing process. And she recommended reaching out to several different agents who she knew had represented people who had written books of some sort of similarity to mine. Obviously, there aren't that many content creators who have written books, but there are people who have written books about small businesses in an emerging industry. There are people who have written books about trying to do the right thing in a weird profit-driven situation and things like that. And so she gave me some people to reach out to, and I did all of that and got very few responses. And then I got connected to someone who coaches people on how to get their writing published. Like, how exactly do you get the best 3-chapter summary? How do you put the right buzzwords into your brief about the book at the start? Stuff like that. She made me a spreadsheet of publishers she knew had represented different people and explained why they would be good for me, and of agents who had represented certain people and explained why they would be good for me. She did a really, really good job of that. It was an impressive spreadsheet full of what felt like very relevant and detailed information. And so I sent emails, reached out to people. Hey, this person published this book about the creator of the game Civilization and his experience in the gaming industry. I've written a book about the gaming industry. Would you like to check out this thing? Stuff like that. It felt like, you know, I'm reaching out to the right people. That went absolutely nowhere. And then I think after that, I was just talking about publishing the book or trying to publish the book on Twitter, and Hannah Nicklin sent me a DM and saying, hey, I know a guy who publishes mostly plays, but I think he might be a good fit as a publisher for you, and here we are. So I did all of the traditional stuff quite thoroughly over the course of like 2 or 3 months, and then got published because someone Hannah Nicklin is a friend of Sharon Martin, who were actually on the channel yesterday morning. Someone I knew through a friend sent me a message and connected me with you. Like, that was how it actually ended up working. It's frustrating. The world that we live in is so frustrating.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a good experience with the people who sort of made suggestions. I know there are a lot of kind of scam-ish companies out there promising to do this and that, but delivering absolutely nothing. So
That doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, they did deliver absolutely nothing, so did I have a good experience? I don't know. I thought that the work they were doing was obviously work. Like, it was obvious that they had actually sat down and done a few hours of work for me using expertise that I didn't have. So
Yeah.
it didn't end up going anywhere, but I didn't feel like I had to be cheap.
Yeah, you got a good spreadsheet out of it.
Exactly. I love a good spreadsheet.
Well, yeah. I mean, I came across a company recently. I can't remember their name, but like book influencers on TikTok are the new buzzword for the publishing industry. Of you gotta be into book talk. You gotta be into book talk, and I just do not see fuss quite yet. I know it's galvanizing a lot of people to read certain books. I don't quite know how it would work for you or I. I guess it's one of those things where you don't want to barge your way into a community of fans and try and just ruthlessly sell them something without taking part. So I think if anyone watching is running a successful book talk, then please, by all means, shout about it. But I don't quite know how you get a book on one of those. They mostly seem to be like romance, people getting off on like romance, or someone said they got a cookbook off Book Talk. Do you TikTok, Jorbs?
Do I TikTok? I despise... Here's the thing about me, George. I despise online content. Yet here I am. No, like, I drew the line at short form content. I don't do YouTube Shorts and I don't do TikTok. It was just like the race to the bottom has gone too deep for me, and TikTok's sort of the next evolution of what I do. And a lot of the things that are wrong with TikTok are also wrong with what I do. I am not going to pretend that that isn't true. But I think as somebody who does what I do, I was able to look at TikTok and see all of the things that were wrong with it. And because I wasn't hooked in yet, because I think once you're hooked in, it gets a lot harder to stop. But I wasn't hooked in yet, so I was like, no, I know what this thing is. I know what it's trying to do to get it hooked into my brain. And I am in a position where I can just not engage. So, I am not a TikToker.
Yeah, I tried, but I did not inhale. You know, I don't like what it's doing to my mind. So I have the power to not engage, which is probably the best.
Yes, it is hard to like what TikTok does to one's mind. Yeah.
But if you want to publish a romance novel, it might be worth getting interested. So keep that in mind.
Romance novels, I keep hearing that they are kind of where the money is in publishing, just overall. So maybe that'll be my next thing. I don't know. I occasionally still have the thought, gee, what if I wrote a book about this thing or this thing or this thing? I occasionally sit down and write something for an hour or two. For me, the writing process, though, is usually it's just a journal entry. Maybe sometimes if the journal entry isn't too personal and seems useful for other people, it becomes a blog post. And then once in my life, a blog post was just so big and important to me that I worked on it for 2 years and it was a book. So... yeah, I don't I didn't set out to write a book to begin with, and I don't imagine that if I ever do write a book again, I will feel like I have set out to do so. It's just, I don't know.
I love that it's just it's a blog post that went too far and became a book.
Just kept on going and going and going and going and going.
Well, maybe we hold out for the critically acclaimed HBO adaptation of the book. Runs for 7 seasons. And
7 seasons? Yeah, when thinking about what I was seeing happening around me, all of the events that are described about being on a new and supposedly successful but ultimately failed esports team. That's what the book's all about. When sitting there looking at it, I did find myself thinking about it in television serial form. I do think that there's a TV show of some sort in there somewhere if somebody wants to make it. I think it would be compelling and interesting. I am not going to be the person to make that TV show, though. I think my story is like a perfectly good 2-hour movie, maybe, but I don't see it being 6 seasons. That's too much.
what's the term when it's like a made-for-television, like, actual film? I'm trying to remember the... Oh, I can't remember what sort of thing I mean, but like they're often quite low budget, so maybe one of those will come along. Direct to DVD, yeah.
Direct to DVD. Do they still make DVDs?
I know there's a revival of things like vinyl and tapes, but I don't think it's hip to collect DVDs. Maybe video cassettes are back. Who knows?
Oh wow. We've got a few donations for the charity that I should thank people for. Mr. Mukau donated $50. Thank you, Mr. Mukau. And a Tangled Fog donated $50 as well. Thank you, Tangled Fog. And then Lumuri donated $200 just now. Did we break $9,000 or 10,000?
You've got over 10,000, yeah.
We're over 10,000. Did we hit the goal?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I have to make the goal higher then. Thank you so much, everyone, for all of your support this week. The 2 funniest things I can do here are just immediately make the goal higher without acknowledging it, or end the stream. Just like, bye. No, thank you so much. I'm going to make it 15,000. We've got the better part of 2 days left. It's a stretch, but we'll see what we can do, yeah? What was
really so cool to see a community just doing good stuff. It's great.
The secret is I just wanted to hang out with my friends all week, pretty much, and so I just like came up with some way that I could get my friends to all hang out with me. The cause is of course wonderful too. What are some good things that you think of when you think about this year for you? What's been exciting in the life of George?
Oh, well, I bought a house with my girlfriend, which has been a big life goal ticked off. Just to know that I'm safe and secure, and only the bank can take it away from me now. I don't know about you. I have moved about 15 times in 20 years.
I am not quite at 15. But I met more than I wanted, that's for sure. Did you... I had this thing when I moved into my house where I had been thinking, this house isn't necessarily perfect. I don't have to necessarily be here forever. I could be moving on in 5 or 10 years, sell it for something bigger, maybe, especially if I get married or something like that. And then I actually moved into my house, and like the stress from the move and everything, and also the feeling of having a home, and this is a place that is mine and I can set up however I want and everything. I just like had this massive, it was like a mindset shift that I could feel happening physically in my body of like, no, this is home, I'm never leaving.
Yeah, you can. I mean, it's so boring to say. Like, you can think about permanent shelves and stuff like that, and
But it's
just
so
feel like
cool.
feel like a grown up.
Nothing boring about a permanent shelf at all. Oh, I hung a coat rack the other day on my entranceway. Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous.
Well, that's been the big life event for me. I think getting your book out, getting another book out by my longtime friend Christopher Brett Bailey. We did his first work of fiction, which I have been encouraging him to write for about years now.
Just
so
a work of any sort, or this particular story had been in his mind for a while?
Not this particular one. He had been writing a novel. I guess the best way to describe it is splattercore. Like he grew up in a small town on the Canadian borders called Fort Erie, and he was going to write a novella about his high school experience, and he and I were working on that for about 2 years on and off, and then it kind of got shelved, and the pandemic put a stop to our being able to meet in person, which was part of the fun. But he has since written, and we have published a short, sharp novella called I Saw Satan at the 7-Eleven, which is a lot of fun. It's a kind of buddy road trip comedy between a nameless narrator and Satan, who is a kind of washed up, has-been version of the deity that you might know. But
I deny any knowledge of the deity.
Well, it's been a lot of fun getting that out, and a handful of people have read it so far. It's a lot of fun. I think he has a bright future. A film has been optioned, so I know that now means will sit in development hell for next forever.
How did that happen? How did the connection from book to film? Was it just an email that ended up somewhere, or?
He has an agent who is part of a big agency for his theatre work, and they somehow they earned their 10% of whatever by making that introduction.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually like, he's been writing he wrote such a weird life of a writer. So he's a playwright and a teacher most of the time. Got a job writing the jukebox musical for a very well-known US rock band, which I think I found out a few weeks ago is not going to happen. So the entire thing has been shelved, like a year's worth of work.
Oof.
That's life. But I think somehow through one of these connections or other, it made its way to someone in a film development department. And I think his experience of writing film is you hear nothing for forever, and then you suddenly have to do a lot of work by tomorrow, and then you don't hear anything again for many months to a year.
Yeah.
So that could be your experience of the film adaptation at some point.
Well, we can mention that his publisher has a few others. I was impressed by the other stuff you published. Because when I was thinking about, I was talking to an agent who seemed like they cared about what I was doing at about the same time that I was talking with you about publishing through you. And so I was like, do I see what this agent ends up doing, or do I go with George here? And you like shared a couple of PDFs of other books you'd published, and I was like, oh, this is like, yeah, this is the sort of publisher that I want to be going through. These are good stories about people doing eclectic things in a good way. And then anyway, the agent ended up just ghosting me, so that also helped make the decision easier.
Yeah, you read the pandemic diary that I published with my last company, a book called The Club on the Edge of Town, which is to do with a theatre company in a low-income area of Leeds in the UK, called Holbeck, sort of suburb of Leeds. And they, when in the early stages of the pandemic, rather than just closing the doors and taking their furlough money, they wondered how they could best serve their local community, and they turned into a food bank and delivered thousands and thousands of food parcels to people in need. And Alan Lane, the writer of the book and the artistic director of the theatre company, he kept a diary which turned into the book, and God, it was very moving. Such a moving book of people, you know, taking the time to do something selfless and helping other people and working for their community rather than, you know, rampant profiteering or whatever other wonderful stuff that went on behind the scenes.
Yeah, it was nice to see something good come out of the pandemic, I guess, although maybe we can work out how to have good things happen without needing the pandemic from now on. That might be better.
Yeah. I mean, that book again would make a wonderful film, TV series, whatever, and yet you just cannot. I guess you just need such resources to kind of break through into the popular sphere where Oprah or whoever is raving about the book. Who knows? Who knows? As I said, maybe years down the line, a copy will make its way into someone's hands and something big will happen.
Do you play games at all? I'm sure I've asked you this before.
No, I used to have I have never been PC gamer. I had a PlayStation 3 was the last console I had. And then for a very long time I did not allow myself to do anything like that because I was just trying to build my publishing business. And I have a regular Monday night hang with a friend of mine who we have an arrangement where he plays the game and I watch.
Oh, cool.
So we have just been playing like Resident Evil 4 remake, and we played both Last of Us together, and we are now on Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater Remastered, which I remember very fondly from my childhood, but we're just getting to grips with that again.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm not a regular gamer, but I think I'm definitely gearing up to maybe some sort of new console. I guess I'm like the person who goes to see one film a year, and it's the Transformers. You know, I'm probably like missing out on so many sort of good indie games.
Yeah, I think one place where I have seen storytelling improve, like the industry of storytelling improve, is in games, definitely. Baldur's Gate 3 was huge this year, and I think it is the best storytelling experience I have ever seen in a game. And maybe just the best one I've ever seen, just a period. Um,
Oh,
Games are getting to a point where they are drama productions which you get to navigate your way through under your own agency, and that is incredibly impressive. My friend Shar has been a writer for games for 10 years or something, and it's really inspiring to hear her talk about writing for games because she is already an incredible writer and an incredibly interesting person with cool ideas that deserve to be written down. But also, she's able to interact with this new medium in such creative ways in order to tell whatever story she wants to tell in the way that fits it. So I've had a lot of really fun experiences with narrative games in the last year and years prior.
my friend is a former opera director turned VR game writer. She's I couldn't tell you what credit she has yet, but she's working with a couple of companies, and I think the potential for storytelling with that tech is going to be really interesting over the next few years, because when you think about kind of storytelling structure with a book or a film, you can't just like veer between scenes and locations without it being incredibly jarring. But it feels like with VR, you can do quite interesting stuff with storytelling. She played me a game that's an adaptation of a Neil Gaiman novel or novella called Wolves in the Wall. Have you heard of
Okay.
this?
I have not, but I definitely am a fan of Neil Gaiman.
It's a sort of scary, fairy tale-y ghost story about a young girl who's sure there are wolves in the wall. I may be misremembering the title, but pretty good enough for this story. And that does such a lot of interesting like scene changes and like location changes and narrative development all within seconds, and yet it makes perfect sense. And I was very impressed by it. I think the kind of I think a lot of people who have traditionally worked in theatre will be making the move into games soon, because there's such a lot of crossover,
Mm-hmm.
especially as the kind of CGI like acting gets better and better. You need kind of directors and playwrights and people like that to make the move over.
Yeah. The last time I was backstage of a theater production was at a gaming studio. The theater didn't have a real audience because it was just cameras, and everything was dressed up in green and stuff. But there were real actors walking through a real scene, recording for a real story. It's just the story wasn't in front of a live audience. It was going to be viewed by people playing a video game. So that is a huge, huge thing. I remember when a cutscene in a video game was like an animated thing, and in my mind it's like, well, the animation for this is so great. And nowadays, a cutscene in a video game, there are still animators doing work, but the characters are moving so realistically, and the reason is no longer that the animators did a good job, it is now that they just had real humans perform that, and
Yeah,
then they made them look like a video game character. So that is
it's
pretty
funny
awesome.
playing the Metal Gear 3 again, and obviously that's full of some pretty good cutscenes, some of which, my God, could they have been edited down? So much of the story is told through just the kind of radio screen of two like thumbnails talking to each other, and they can go on for such a long time, and yet the voice acting was so good. It like a pleasure to sit through. Although, yeah, they do veer into pretty crazy territory at points.
I have not played. Was Metal Gear Solid? Were there cars driving around shooting each other, or am I thinking of a different game? I don't think I've played Metal Gear Solid.
No, it was like
What game I'm thinking?
stealth action adventure.
Oh, is that the one
person-
with Snake?
Yeah, that's right.
Ah, that's Metal Gear Solid. Okay. Oh, that's Twisted Metal. Yeah, I think you're right. What about online communities? I've been asking people about cool things happening in online communities for them. You've been working with Mary, of course. That's been really interesting. I got to meet Mary when, like, she was there as well when we were both in LA last year? End of last year? I don't. Something
I think
like
it
that.
was this year. You know, it would have been.
Like this January or something? Yeah, I think you're right.
Was
It
it?
was the beginning of this year.
Was it March or May?
It was. It
The
would have
book
been
actually
March.
come out?
It would have been March because it was cold in
Yeah.
Seattle. That's why I was so excited to make the trip.
Well, Mary is. She's been launching a new community of independent musicians. This stage one has been starting a kind of weekly newsletter called the 21st Century Musician. It is taking bits of what she's learned, putting out her own music, and independently writing, recording, and releasing an album. And just trying to, I guess, share knowledge and empower those looking to do the same thing, because it seems like you really don't need a record label anymore if you can, you know, build your own audience. And I guess part of doing that is by creating a community of supportive musicians who might be the ones to give your new song those first few plays or streams or shares. So that's been a really interesting thing to start off. That's on a few thousand subscribers now of people making their own work rather than just, you know, casual fans of hers. So it's kind of cool to see that not start from the beginning as such, but like a new thing, and then eventually it might move into Discord servers and whichever other way we can think of making it useful to people.
Sure. She launched that through her YouTube, I'm guessing? Is that...
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Mary Spender, and then it's the 21st Century Musician. If any of you are musicians and looking to get some advice or just, you know, creative prompts or things like that.
Mary is very impressive to me. She is both an incredible musician and an incredible content creator. And as a content creator, I see the part that's being a really good content creator in ways that maybe a lot of people who aren't content creators don't notice. But, like, I think as a content creator, she is almost as impressive as she is as a musician. And I only say almost because she's a very, very, very good musician. Like, incredibly talented. But so many people in the world think that if you have something that you're good at and that is worth telling people about, like the content creation part of that to like make a successful YouTube channel about it or something like that is just automatic. And that is just so not true. The amount of work that she's done on that channel is very impressive. And you've been helping her with it, so I'm sure I'm telling you things you already know.
Oh, I'm still so unaware of like camera settings and editing and things like that. I'm really
But
still
you're
just
writing scripts, yeah?
Yeah, helping like research and write, help her kind of say what she wants to say in the best way, much like being a book editor, really.
Right. So while you're trying to talk yourself down, you don't know about the camera settings and stuff. What I'm hearing is that she has someone who has had a career in the publishing industry and understands how to, you know, present the story to an audience and all of the things involved in that, writing her scripts. So, yeah, I mean,
It's been a really nice, like, collaborative process because it's almost like doing a kind of drama read through. You know, we get together and spend a lot of time hanging out on Google Meet or whatever and talking through ideas. And yeah, I never imagined I'd be doing this. It's a fun change of scene from book world.
yeah. The way that I create a video on YouTube for context is I sit down, make a script in my head basically with some notes in either a Google Slides doc or a Google spreadsheet doc. I spend about 15 to 30 minutes on that, and then I record me talking through them in one take, and then I publish it. So, you know, there's some charm to that. People appreciate the integrity, I think. And oh, this is very obviously what he means because he very obviously hasn't bothered to edit it. But yeah, very different from what you and Mary are doing, which is mind-blowing to me.
I think I'd love to go into like longer form documentaries over time. I've been watching a lot of music history documentaries recently and just thinking, wow, that's just... I don't know if you've heard of these films, The Decline of Western Civilization. It's a 3-part punk history. Well, 2 parts punk, one part hair metal.
Okay.
And the director just sort of interviewing punk bands who are playing a concert and also members of the audience, and it's just a really good look at like being a fan and starting out and spending all your time like flyering for your band that you really believe in. And some of them obviously, particularly in the hair metal one, have achieved enormous success, and others never quite make it for whatever reason. And it's such a wonderful visual record of a particular moment in time, and in a way that a book can't quite capture. So
Sure.
I've been enjoying those. They're on YouTube if anyone is interested.
I have a great love
I'd
of
recommend.
punk music because the disparity between how much the fans care about punk music versus how much the people actually performing the music appear to care about the music they're performing is very I want to say funny, and it is funny to me, but it's also kind of beautiful to me. Yeah.
You a teenage punk? Did you have a teenage like goth phase, metal phase, anything like that?
I was not a teenage punk, but I think as an immigrant, I didn't have a ton of like established friends in school and was clearly someone who didn't quite fit in. And so I hung out with a good number of punks. I remember in journalism class, me and a kid named Tyler would sit on the... It was like a big cabinet with a heater inside it, and we would sit on that in the back instead of at our desks and talk about skateboarding all day instead of doing any work. So, like, I had a little bit of that. I was adjacent to it, but I wouldn't say that I was ever a punk myself.
Do you skate successfully yourself, or were you just enjoying?
I was a
skateboarding?
rollerblader.
Okay.
And I was good enough at rollerblading to have a scar from rollerblading. I'm not sure if that actually means you're good at it or not. But like, yeah, I rollerbladed quite a lot as a kid.
I tried my only foray into skateboarding was as an adult in the depths of the longest lockdown in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
I went with my neighbor who had we were good friends, and he was really into skating, and I was like, let's go to this parking lot and I will give it a go. And of course, the very first time I do it, at the end of the kind of hour we were doing it, I fell and twisted my ankle, and then had to like limp back and forth to shops to feed myself for the next couple of weeks. And I think he was just like, you gotta just get over that, and I've broken my back, I've broken my wrist.
Not a great sell.
I just don't have that. I just don't have that in
Great
me
sell.
anymore. I don't like getting hurt.
Yeah. Wasn't fun to begin with, to be honest. I've been really enjoying the rock climbing community's approach to content creation in the last like 5 years. I don't know if you are familiar with how YouTube videos are working for the rock climbing community, but it is quite fascinating. I don't quite understand how it happened. Have you seen Free Solo or heard of Free Solo?
I have seen Free Solo, yeah. I used to do quite a bit of climbing when I lived in London with a friend of mine.
Oh, cool.
And we have done some outdoor climbing, and then when I moved out of London, we obviously didn't get the same opportunity to do it. He actually broke his back in one of the climbs. It's inside climbing wall, ropes, very safe, and yet an accident still happened. He and I were both up a wall at the same time, and a pair of girls we were friendly with were belaying us, and he reached and fell, and unfortunately they were talking, and he fell straight to the ground like about 35 feet. And broke a single vertebrae in his back, but the doctors said, oh my god, you have no idea how lucky you are, because you could have just sheared your spine and never walked again. So he got off extremely lightly, but yeah, it can go very wrong. So when I look at a film like Free Solo, you just think, oh my god, I think I'm not built that way to not fear getting hurt or dying. He's a cut above, really. I haven't checked out rock climbing YouTube though.
Rock climbing YouTube kind of feels like the blogger version of Free Solo almost. It's also like 20-minute videos of someone going to do a climb somewhere, and they have a nice intro to the location with a little flyover kind of thing, and then the climb itself with all the struggle and practicing and pain, like a supercut through all of those things. And then you get the full 2-minute long successful climb at the end, and it's a very satisfying 20 minutes of just like beautiful nature, human struggle, and then overcoming. So the talk about punk documentaries made me think of it.
There's an incredible film in the same vein as Free Solo called, I think it's called The Dawn Wall.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of this one?
That's is that also Alex Honnold with Tommy someone? I'm not sure if I've seen it, but I definitely know of it, yeah.
Tommy Caldwell, yeah. The start of that film is insane, where him and a group of friends are climbing in the mountains somewhere. I can't remember. I think it might be somewhere in the Middle East, and they are captured and marched at gunpoint and held hostage, and they eventually managed to break free and like push one of their captors off a huge mountain and
Oh my god.
then somehow climb to safety. But it's the most crazy start to a film.
And it's
And I don't think he
real in
ever
this
got over the
case.
trauma, really.
Yeah. But it's real in this case, yeah, because it sounds like the start of a
Yeah.
spy movie. It doesn't sound like real life. Oh.
Well, here it is. Yeah, at the age of 22, he was taken hostage by rebels in Kyrgyzstan. Yeah. Quite the story.
Yeah. It makes my life seem very safe and boring. Which, you know, I'll take. Is there anything that you are looking forward to coming up in 2024?
Gosh. It's really boring, but the basement flat in my building has been a proper... I guess you would describe him as a hoarder.
Okay.
He our front garden and back garden is just absolutely filled with washing machines, bikes, in bags of rubbish, all sorts of stuff like that. And he is moving out next week. He's sold his flat, and rubbish clearance is imminent. And I gotta say, that is going to be just such a transformation of my environment that I am very much looking forward to seeing that happen.
I have hired a decluttering consultant before in my life. I can relate to how exciting it is to get rid of all of that, and especially when it's not even your stuff, like that's somebody else's. Yeah, that'll be nice.
The thing that has sort of been a great pleasure, though, is because this garden is so cluttered and untouched by humans. A family of foxes have set up home there. So I have seen over the whole summer a litter of these very sweet fox cubs grow and mature and reach adulthood. So with the clutter, there has been some like beautiful moments of nature rewilding itself. So I will be sad to see them go.
I have a local raccoon family who live underneath my garden shed. Yeah, it's very cute. I am amazed at how fun it is to just sit and look outside. You know, we have spent so many millions or billions of hours of human brain power and ingenuity to create this world online, which enables great things like that you and I can speak to each other about a project that we worked on together despite you living in England and me living in America. At a moment's notice, like I just emailed you earlier this week and asked if you want to do this. But
Yeah.
despite all of that, somehow we have still not reached a point where the sum of human capability can provide me an experience that is better than just walking outside by myself for like 20 minutes. It's just really pretty out there, and walking's really fun. So, I don't know what that says about anything.
Yeah, I agree. I read an incredible book recently about the attention economy, which I found. I don't know about you. My attention has suffered as a result of all the delights online. And And that can sometimes lead to feeling a bit sort of lost and confused. And this writer, he's called James Williams, and he's a former Google strategist turned philosopher. And he wrote a book about attention, where he divides our attention into 3 parts. And you have your spotlight, as in like I'm going to go and make a cup of coffee now. You have your starlight, which is your like I'm going to record an album over the next year or so. But then you have the third pillar, which is your daylight, which is your ability to like think and reflect and on why you enjoy the things you do in the first place. And I feel so much of life is missed because you're never free from distraction. So just going for a walk every day has, without any kind of device, has led to a huge kind of change in my life over the last year or so.
I need to read this book.
It's probably a very obvious. I think it's called Stand Out of Our Light. He did I came to it. It's mentioned in a Johann Hari book. I highly recommend his TED talk. He did I think it's called Stand Out of Our Light.
Mm-hmm. Tristan Harris.
Yeah, that's a kind of roundabout way of saying it's very important to take the time to, as you say, like appreciate the outdoors and focus on a nice fox,
Mm-hmm.
doing its thing in the garden is intensely meaningful sometimes.
Yes, I was going to say that Tristan Harris has been my person for learning about the attention economy and all of that stuff. It feels very relevant to my job, so I'm always eager to learn more.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
Stand Out of the Light by James Williams.
Do you have any final thoughts before I need a moment to... I've been saying to become less visited for a bit before my next guest. I'm a gigantic introvert, which places my decision to do this as a career into some questioning light.
Well, what a pleasure to get to spend some time with you here and hang out with your community. It's been, doing the book has been enormously rewarding for, I'd say financially, but in terms of getting to know you and getting to work with you, and our kind of long distance working relationship and friendship has been a great addition to the mix. So I'm very happy we connected through Twitter and got to make a book together.
Yeah, way to go, us.
Yeah.
That's the best thing about Twitter, I think, is the stuff that it lets happen that isn't on Twitter. So thank you, Twitter.
Yeah, congratulations on raising so much money as well. It's for a great cause.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you for coming on, George. And I will chat with you again soon.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
And I'm
day.
looking forward to my paycheck. Getting a
coming
paycheck. I'm going
first
to
week of
become a
January.
paid author very soon. That's exciting. All right, cool. Well, have a good evening and enjoy hanging out with the partner's parents.
Yeah, not quite mother-in-law, but
All right.
similar thing.
Yeah.
A good one.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
How's it going, Twitch chat? Nice to hang out with George. Oh, I don't have the song name on screen. That's strange. Because, I have the music playing and the... Weird. I just had to, like, click on it and it came back. Strange. Sorry about that. I have not been sleeping well this week, and it's slowly turning into, like, some sort of horrific nightmare. So I'm going to power through today, and hopefully it'll all be good, but gosh, it would be nice to get a good night's sleep. I've definitely noticed at times, playing Spire so far today, that I, like, don't really understand how I got where I am. Like, what is happening exactly? That sort of vibe, which isn't a great vibe. Thank you for pointing out Bomba yesterday has become your late entry game of the year. Nice. I actually, I played it a little bit in the middle of the night while I couldn't sleep. I might show it off on stream sometime today. It's so good. Who recommended that? I don't remember. Was that Panacea? That was Panacea, right? Or at least it came up while we were talking with Panacea. Yeah, it's really good. I guess I just do this. I don't know. Bomba. Look at that. It is... Here, let's take a brief break from Spire, because my brain is breaking. I should eat food somehow, too. So this is a Minesweeper situation. And you have two clues here. And the clues are creating spaces. So this clue creates a set of cells in which there can be 0 bombs, because there's a bomb here and a clue that says there's 1 bomb next to it. So this cell here is a single cell set of cells where there can be no bombs. So what this game is I make a rule when there's a set of cells like that. If there's a set of cells where there can be 0 bombs, it's a set of 1 cell with 0 bombs in it, I'm going to sweep it. And then the robot's going to do that for me. Here, this 2 is creating a set of 2 cells where there can be 0 bombs. Anytime that happens, I'm going to sweep it. Here there's a set of 1 cell where there must be a bomb. I'm going to put a bomb on that every time that happens. Here there's a set of 2 cells where there must be 2 bombs. I'm going to put a bomb in both of those when that happens. Now we have another sort of situation, having solved that one. So here there's a set of 4 cells where there have to be 4 bombs. Let's just put bombs on all of those. And all of the rules that I'm making go in a set of rules and are always applied every time that the game sees that situation again. So what I'm doing is I'm not just solving Minesweeper grids, I'm creating logic which will continue to solve Minesweeper grids. I'm going to speed it up a bit. So here we have a more complicated situation. So I have a set of 5 cells. I have a set of 6 cells that have to have 5 bombs in them. And I have a conjuncting. You call this a conjunction? Maybe. I have another set of cells which can only have 1 bomb in them. So the solution to this would be 4 bombs would be here, and then there would be 1 bomb here or here, and no bombs in here. So what I can do here is I can say that this set here is going to have no bombs in it. So I will sweep it. But I can also generalize this rule. I can say that if there's any set of cells here of any number, I can sweep them. And also the size of this set of cells doesn't matter. That can be any size as well, as long as there are 1 or more there. It's just an easy one, 0. This looks a little bit more complicated. Well, I can see this is a set of cells that has to have a bomb in it, and then this one, there's nothing. There's no cell where... I wish that the colors were more distinct. That is my one large complaint with the game, because this is just 4 different shades of blue. Metallic blue, basically. But because there are no cells that greeny blue has by itself, the bomb for it needs to be in the co-joined set, which could be of any size. And anytime that this is going on, then any size of set that is only in the teal set, we can sweep. Intersection. This game is called Bomba. B-O-M-B-E. Here we know that 1 cell from this 2 is going to have to touch this line, so we can say, as long as that's any size, we know that this will be clear. This is a very similar sort of rule, just with 3 instead of... Oops, what did I just click? Cancel? Oh god. I don't know what I just clicked. Instead of a 2, it has a 3. I have selected the wrong one. Oh god, everything's exploding. Did I rotate the board or something? What happened? I feel like I'm losing my mind. Did I do it wrong? Oh. What's actually happening here is because there has to be 1 bomb here, so those 2 bombs, those 2 have to be bombs. How do I say that as a rule? I think what I can do here is I can create a new set. So I can say when this happens, this part becomes a new set, which has 2 bombs in it. And I can make that as a rule. Oh yeah, that's the game. I'm not going to play it a ton. I might play it more on stream later, I don't know. But it is so good. Such a good game. Your brain can't handle that? It only gets more complicated. And continues to get more complicated for a long time. It's quite charming. George has gone off into his day. I am still here. In another 20 minutes or so, we will be chatting with Pastoroni Ravioli and Getawid, which is so exciting. They are 2 friends of mine, also from England. Git is. Pastoroni Ravioli is from the East Coast somewhere of the US, who started dating online right around the start of the pandemic, and then had long distance for a couple of years, not able to see each other because of the pandemic, and then we've actually gotten to start seeing each other and doing things together this year, and it has been so cute. Oh my gosh, they're so adorable. I'm very excited to get to talk to them. I've never gotten to have a conversation with the two of them without something else going on around it. I did actually a podcast with Gid on his channel. He invited me to do a podcast with them, and that was really fun to chat with them for a while. But I've never chatted to them as a couple. And they both have such lovely energy, and the way that they offset each other is just really wonderful, so I'm looking forward to it. I am going to stretch my legs.